The deer, king of the forest, has always held a special place in art and spirituality, a symbol of life and creation. It embodies the vital force that animates the world. Its antlers are reminiscent of the tree of life. Their annual regrowths evoke the cycle of the seasons, death, and rebirth.
Since prehistoric times, humans have used deer antlers and bones to make tools and ritual objects, a sign of an ancient and deep connection with the animal. In Celtic mythology, Cernunnos, the horned god, associates the image with the deer with abundance, knowledge, and resurrection. He symbolizes the union of the sacred and nature. In Nordic legends, the deer is a bringer of fertility and a guardian of natural cycles. 4 deer represent the seasons, recalling its roles in bringing balance and harmony to Earth. Throughout the ages and across cultures, the deer remains a symbol of renewal, vitality, and strength, a silent messenger between the world of human and of nature. The red deer, or Cervus elaphus, is a large mammal of the Cervidae family. Appearing now nearly 40,000 years ago, it now inhabits vast territories in Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Humans have also introduced it in other parts of the world, such as Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the United States, where it has adapted perfectly.
The doe carries her fawn for nearly 8 months. At birth, the fawn is already fully formed. Its eyes are open, it quickly stands up and follows its mother. Its first few days are essential to its survival. Its mother's milk provides everything it needs to grow, and the quality of this milk depends directly on the mother's diet. Deer milk contains 3 times more fat and protein than cow's milk. The fawn stays with its mother for the first year. At 1 year old, it becomes a doe or a buck. When it reaches around 50 kilograms, the male becomes sexually mature and leaves its mother. Its first antlers begin to grow. Once adult, deer live for an average of 15 years. Their size varies depending on their habitat. Around 1.40 meters at the withers, 1.70 meters including the head, and weighing nearly 200 kilograms. However, during the rooting season, they almost stop feeding and can lose up to a third of their weight. As herbivores, they feed depending on the season on plants, fruits, mushrooms, and vegetation such as young tree sprouts, grasses, grains, brambles, and even seaweed for some deer in coastal areas. In winter, when food is scarce, they strip the bark from trees. Deer consume about 10 kilograms of fresh vegetation per day.
They also gnaw on bones or fallen antlers to supplement the calcium intake, which is necessary for antler growth. These antlers are bony growth covered with a velvety vascular tissue. For 120 days, the antlers grow 1 to 2.5 centimeters per day, stimulated by sunlight. At the end of the growth, the deer removes this velvet by rubbing against tree trunks, a gesture called dub rock. For 3 to 4 months, the antlers remain sensitive and their growth is stimulated by testosterone until the end of summer. When testosterone level drops, they fall off between February and March. This annual regrowth allows damaged antlers to be replaced. They are used for defense, root fighting, and as a sign of social status. The branches of the antlers are called tines or points. Their number depends on genetic and the environment. Contrary to popular belief, they do not indicate the age of the deer. The length of the antlers increases with age and then decreases at the end of life. The structure of antlers resembles the branches of a tree or roots. Each branch follows a specific order.
Over time, the relationship between humans and deer has evolved. With industrialization and neuropreservation techniques, venison has become more accessible. These advances have improved food safety and diversified its uses. Deer charcuterie, sausages, pâté, and terrine has become widely available, especially in Central Europe and New Zealand. These innovations have paved the way for wider trade and processed products, such as steaks, carpaccios, and burgers, adapted to modern consumption patterns. In some parts of the world, deer also retain medicinal value. In the East, the velvet from their antlers is highly sought after. Used for over 2,000 years in Chinese medicine, it is used in many preparations to treat various ailments.
After the French Revolution and the democratization of hunting rights, deer population declined sharply until the 1960s, when only a few individuals remained. In 50 years, their range has doubled, covering 33% of mainland France and 51% of French forests in 2015. This growth was stimulated by a repopulation policy begun in 1955 with deer from the Chambord and Petite Pierre reserves.
Today, France has around 10 deer farms that replicate their natural habitats. In these conditions, the animals adapt easily thanks to their gregarious behavior. Whether living in the forest or on the farm, deer feed exclusively on food gathered in their territory, which gives their meat its high quality. Consumption of deer meat is closely linked to the hunting season and the end-of-year celebrations. In France, the hunting season runs from September to February, with some variations depending on the region and species. Fresh deer meat is distinguished by its bright, deep red color. It requires a period of maturation to tenderize it, making it easier to cook and bringing out all its flavors.
Red deer live mainly in the northern hemisphere, in the heart of deciduous or coniferous forests close to open clearings. They adapt easily to their environments and can also be found in brushwood or moorland. They are mainly found in temperate environments and Mediterranean scrubland. Deer living in herds have a large territory and return to their breeding grounds during their brood. Solitary individuals are content with a smaller area as long as it provides them with food and shelter. Deer are not just hiding in forests anymore. The expansion of agricultural crops and urban area is pushing them closer to human settlements, sometimes at the risk of causing damage. Their movements also bring them close to the roads and suburban areas, putting them in direct contact with human activity. In France, the first forest developments were linked to hunting. With the fragmentation of forests, deer take risk when moving around. To protect them, ecological corridors have been created, allowing them to move more easily and safely.
Various examples of cave art show how humans have always been fascinated by deer. Hunting scenes testify to their dependence on meat, but also to the respect they had for animals, which became a totem. Beyond this respect, humans have often been inspired by the body and attributes of deer. The interbreeding of human and deer appear in many traditions. In prehistoric times, in tombs decorated with antlers, among the Mayans, in representation of the goddess of love with deer antlers, and in Europe in the Middle Ages, during New Year celebration.
Cutting tools are an extension of the human hand, where gesture meets living matter. Knives, saws, and clevers reflect a precise knowledge of the animal body. They separate, refine, and reveal. Each tool embodies knowledge and mastery. In this contact between blade and flesh, humans transform raw material into food, flesh into a masterful work. A custom called doing the deer was practiced at New Year's in the Middle Ages in several European countries. Participants dressed up as deer and roamed the streets singing and dancing. Despite numerous condemnation by the Catholic Church, this tradition continued for centuries. It illustrates how deeply rooted the deer is in popular culture. It inspires works that combine admiration for its power, moral satire, or reflection on the wild world, as in La Fontaine's fables. In the animated film Bambi, Disney blurs the lines between domination and empathy. By humanizing a fawn, the films invite viewers to reflect on hunting and our relationship with the animal world.
The deer is an animal closely linked to the goddesses of hunting, Artemis and Diana. In mythology, it symbolizes power and metamorphosis. The myth of Actaeon tells the story of a hunter punished for surprising Artemis while she was bathing. Transformed into a deer, he is devoured by his own pack. The animal embodies the ambivalent link between man, nature, and the violence of the gaze.
Hunting with hounds, also known as venery, has existed since ancient times. It continued in the Middle Ages with the development of forests. Its expansion became a symbol of power, a codified, almost ceremonial ritual. Even at that time, hunting was a real spectacle. Nobles and ladies followed it in carriages, watching the pursuit of the pack as if it were a stage event. Today, France remains one of the last countries to practice hunting with hounds, with nearly 400 teams still active.
In contrast, close hunting relies on discretion and patience. The hunter observes the territory, looking for tracks, rubs, and scrapes left by the deer. He takes into account the wind and the relief and moves slowly so not as to be spotted. These hunting traditions were exported by settlers who brought deer with them to repopulate the forests of conquered territories such as New Caledonia. In New Zealand, where deer not only live on farms, hunting has become a strictly commercial activity. Recreational hunting and battues now account for the majority of deer taken in France. Each game ends with the presentation of the hunt's tableau, a solemn ritual where the animals are laid on their right sides on a bed of branches. Then comes the last bite, a branch slipped into the mouth of the fallen deer as a sign of respect.
Deer, on the other hand, do not impose themselves on the territory. They simply pass through, but leave behind them unique marks. They rub their antlers against tree bark to remove the velvet covering them and sharpen them. This phenomenon is called rubbing. Its sense of smell is 1,000 times more developed than ours. Its moist nose captures scent particles and allows it to detect a smell from over a kilometer away. It uses its sense of smell to recognize its fellow deer or detect danger. During the rut, the deer lets out a powerful roar, the bellow. This call marks its dominance. When two males meet, they first size each other up, walking side by side. If neither backs down, the fight begins. Antlers clash, each trying to push the other away. These fights can be violent, sometimes fatal. But often, the weaker one ends up fleeing, yielding its place.
Hunting exposes a tension between violence and beauty. It reveals the human need to dominate nature while prompting reflection on animal suffering. The hunting scene is a favorite subject of many artists across various mediums. This contrast between fascination and unease is found in the work of photographer Éric Poitevin, who naturalizes the deer through the image, freezing this ancestral face-to-face encounter between man and animal.
Fascinated by the beauty of deer, humans sought to pay homage to them from very early on. This admiration gave rise to a tradition, trophies. Objects of memory, measurement or pride, they allow the animal to be frozen in time to leave a trace. Among them are taxidermy, naturalization, trophy rooms, and even furniture. But the most emblematic remains the antlers, a symbol of power and prestige. Hunters seek out the most perfect antlers, while others seek out the strangest. These so-called bizarre heads, with their unusual antler shape, are often the results of an old injury or deficiencies. They tell a story, that of a bite of a life marked by nature. Other deer deprived of antler, called deer, are disadvantaged and excluded from the herd hierarchy.
Over time, the trophy has taken on other, more symbolic forms. On banquet tables, deer also become a sign of prestige. In France, roast deer with Grand sauce is an iconic dish, sometimes served whole, like an offering. In Germany and Austria, Ehrgulasch simmered for a long time and accompanied by Spätzle or Knödel embodies the cuisine of the Germanic forests. Throughout Europe, venison is served in gigot, terrine, pâté, or sausages, often accompanied by red wines, red fruits, and mushrooms. In Asia, venison has found its place in ancient culinary tradition. In Indonesia, sehusa, a dish from Timor, is smoked with root and local herbs to soften the gamey flavor. In Japan, it is enjoyed in sukiyaki, thinly sliced, dipped in raw egg and soy sauce to reveal its tenderness. On the American continent, indigenous people have passed down their preservation methods, dried meat and pemmican, designed for long journeys. Today, these practices survive in the form of jerky or modern grill meats in a North American culture where fire and meat still symbolize freedom.
In contemporary gastronomy, Venetian is gaining a new status. It is no longer just a game, but a novel, fine, sought-after meat. In art, it has become an icon. Contemporary artists are revisiting the trophy, reinterpreting it, elevating it. What was once a sign of domination has become the object of contemplation. The trophy has left the hunting room and entered the museum. The deer, once hunted, has become an idol, a spiritual figure, celebrated and reimagined, somewhere between homage and memory.
For thousands of years, the deer has been seen as a spiritual guide, a messenger between humans and the forces of nature. A divinity or spirit, it has lived through the ages and civilization, changing form according to beliefs.
In Japanese mythology, it embodies wisdom and protection. In Nara, sacred deer, called shika, are considered messengers of the gods. They move freely among humans, reminding us of the presence of the divine in the heart of the living world. In Mexico, among the Huichol people, the blue deer, Koyumari, guides humans to the sacred peyote cactus. It symbolizes knowledge and connects the spirit world to the human world. It is a scout, a light on the path to revelation. In the West, artists such as Paul Klee and Eric Nussbaker have reinterpreted its figure. In their works, the deer fragments and transforms, oscillating between grandeur and fragility, a mystical beast, both familiar and elusive. Even popular culture has embraced it. In Harry Potter, the deer becomes a patronus, a protective apparition, a symbol of light in the face of darkness. Thus, from east to west, from ancient myths to modern tales, the deer remains a figure of gentle power and spiritual awakening.
In Christian Europe, it became the mediator between heaven and earth. In the Kingdom of France, it was associated with royalty, reflecting divine power. The annual regeneration of its antlers evoked the resurrection of Christ. A discreet but omnipresent symbol, it can be even found in the decor of Versailles among hunting scene and trompe-l'œil paintings, recalling its connection to the sacred. Saint Hubert and Saint Eustache watch over it in a Christian tradition. The deer becomes the messenger of the forest, inviting men to humility before nature.
Its physical qualities fuel its legend. An animal of dawn and dusk, it lives in herd, always on guard. When fawn are born, they remain motionless and orderless to escape predators. Their spotted coats blend into the light of the undergrowth. Their sense of smell, hearing, and wide vision make them exceptionally vigilant creatures. They can run at speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour. Their grace, strength, and agility reinforce their aura as sacred creatures. But, despite this power, the deer remains prey. Its survival depends on flight, caution, and discretion. Modern hunters, who are more ethical, have a deep respect for it. As an umbrella species, its protection contributes to the balance of the entire forest ecosystem. Hunting quotas are now regulated, seeking to maintain harmony between agricultural, forestry, and hunting interests.
Deer meat, rare and noble, extends this symbolic link. In the West, it is associated with the holiday season, whereas in Asia and Latin America, it evokes purity and vitality. Both on the table and in myth, deer remain a universal symbol, that of a world where nature, spirituality, and human culture are one.